small delay with the program, basically because of some miscommunication with the bus driver and not having him on time in the right place. Sorry once again. I'd like to thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues from all over the country who left behind and decided that to come here with us today to discuss some of the, to us, the issues of the association and which deserve deep reflection among this distinguished ALT community in Morocco. You have been chosen by names by the National Board according to your devotion to our association and because of your devotion to the activities of late, be it in terms of teacher training, pre-service, in-service, or student-oriented activities, namely late access programs nationwide. Once again, I'd like to thank you for all the pain you had in making it all the way to Marrakech. I hope together we're going to spend the rest of the holiday, in a relaxed atmosphere, in the most enjoyable conditions possible, but still learn from each other and create a new platform for exchange of mentors or mentees as participants or as trainers. So it's my great pleasure to be among this community and exchange these ideas and thoughts for the coming 3 days. Second, I'd like to thank all the panelists and workshop leaders who accepted, despite the short notice, to run and lead the workshops and facilitate the discussions. Some of them have apologized last minute, namely Professor Luke and Professor Laklida, for conditions they said they were out of their will. Other participants also couldn't make it, and I understand that the 8 positions are not that easy. Only some of us were able to make it to this seminar. This is basically the 5th seminar that MATE is organizing in this 2000 edition. We started seminars back in 2001, I think Abdellatif was president. We had 2 management seminars for the local branches and for the national board to help ourselves promote governance and run the association in better conditions. We had another seminar under the reign of Hassim to organize a very successful seminar in Mimilal, and last year we organized the 4th seminar in Rabat for local branches and for the leaders in local branches and access leaders, made access leaders. This edition is so special. It is so special in many ways. First of all, it has come with this new era in this Arab Spring, this new flavor of life that is spreading in the bloods of all the Arabs, regardless of their geographical positions of the countries. And I think that MATE as an NGO has upon its shoulder a responsibility that it has to incur so as to meet the challenges of this era. So maybe new strategy, maybe new philosophy, maybe new people, why not? And we have heard in the media and in real life, in different gatherings. And second, because of the new constitution of Morocco, which is giving more room to NGOs to help with decision making, especially in our case, in educational purposes. So I think we have more responsibility now, and we have to fight for our rights to decide or to help in the decision making for educational matters, more specifically related to English language teaching and learning. But we are asked more than ever, now more than ever, to contribute to decision making in educational business altogether. So we rely on you, on your intelligence, on your expertise and your experience, and on your field of community service to come up with ideas that would help the association go forward and be, as it has always been, a leader in community service, more specifically in English language teaching. I don't want to be long, but this is something I should say. It makes us a pioneer. It thinks it's women and men. Most of them are doing most of the job behind the scenes, and some of them they receive flashlights, but most are doing behind the scene work. And I'm not going to name, because if I name something I'll be in trouble. I can't finish the list. I will spend the night here. But these, whenever we call on them, either the telephone, 6 o'clock in the evening, or 6 o'clock in the morning, they answer our calls and they do what made us to do, and they feel it's a duty. So all these men and women, thank you very much once again, and I hope there comes a time when we organize an event to say thank you to all these people who have serviced the community to the fullest. I think that I would stop here and on your behalf thank all the panelists for this first session. I'm sorry?
Are there any changes?
Minor changes. There were some changes, but I hope tonight, we can have the workshop run. If it's not possible, then we can have it short, and then we have a make-up session with the participants. But I wish we can stay for at least 1 hour after the break, because dinner is waiting for us. And whenever we go to the hotel, what time? The dinner will be served to us. Unless we have a major objection, we are here to listen to you. So, on your behalf, I would like to thank Seddiq Ouboulahcen on my right. Hassim is a mate, is an active mate member, and doctorate student who is about to submit his dissertation in a few days. And his major interests are in human development and capacity building. And this is something he said, let's learn from some of his experience that he has been involved in NGOs nationwide and in Africa, many African countries. He's been involved as an expert in different countries like Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, and other countries. So he kindly accepted to chair this session. Hassim has also kindly accepted to be a panelist and to share with us some of his reflections on capacity building for the association and how we can all together serve great conditions. And I leave this. I don't want to talk about Hassim or my supervisor and former vice president and a very active member of the doing a lot of work. he may access some of the latest numbers are just showing. Okay, on my left, Laklida is a teacher trainer at the CPR here. He is one of the people who insisted that it should be this event be organized here, and he kindly accepted to coordinate all the efforts with the director of the CPR and Abdellatif, who is the local national board and is doing a lot of work in coordinating and implementing a lot of national events. He also kindly accepted to participate in this panel. His perspective will be more of a teacher trainer, more involved actually both in pre-service and in-service teacher training. I think that I have to leave my colleagues before they say, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the nice introduction. I'm glad to be among you, student colleagues. I consider myself a colleague because I teach for a number of years before leaving the profession, but just temporarily, and made an organization that is connected to teaching, a profession which I value and and today I'm here to merely share ideas, raise some questions, share my experience with organizations, non-governmental organizations, either here in Morocco or abroad, and some of the issues they face throughout their life. And my objective is to kind of lay a platform for discussion, and please feel free to object to suggestions, ideas, and to take stock with them. That's the objective of this session. What I will try to do is to kind of present my observations about MATE as an organization, and try to suggest some measures for improvement, especially from the prism of capacity building and leadership development. MATE is an organization that has been operating in Morocco for 3 decades now, more than 3 decades now, and in many respects it is a pioneer organization, and it has a lot of potential, it has achieved a lot, and it has a lot of expertise. So one can say that MATE is an organization that is run by the book, and that there's not much to improve, we're already excellent. But a number of issues are out there, and in my point of view, and need to be addressed immediately and urgently because of 4 major reasons. The first one is a fast-changing and challenging environment, and I will detail what I mean by that. Second, a shift in non-governmental organization governance, which impacts both fundraising, the fundraising capacity of the organization, and also the potential of the organization to be effective and efficient in its intervention, and in my implication, have a sustainable intervention. The third, and in my point of view, it's as important as the first 2, is the need for breakthrough communication and outreach, both internally and externally. And I will come back to that and how that factor can be very, very essential in determining the success of interventions or their failure. And the last point I want to tackle very briefly is the toolbox. The toolbox that MATE as an organization uses to effect impact in the Moroccan society. Do we need to adopt new tools for our intervention, or are we satisfied with our lot with what we already have? Is there room for improvement? What kind of tools can we suggest? What are the priority areas that we can turn to? Talking about the environment, leads us to talk about the institutional environment in which MATE as an organization operates. Mr. Ouboulahcen has been talking about the political shifts in the region, the Arab Spring, and the kind of implications that this dynamic has for non-governmental organizations. MATE is an association, and it survives on funds coming from both governmental and non-governmental stakeholders. And by default, it is subject to the change in priorities between governmental and non-governmental stakeholders or institutions. And in Morocco, some major changes happened. We had a new constitution, and this new constitution has a bearing on a number of legal and institutional transformations in the country. For example, now the state has a clear-cut commitment to social justice and human development, which has been institutionalized. It has a clear-cut commitment to equality of opportunities and non-discrimination. It has committed to democracy, multiculturalism, pluralism, and other civic values that have been detailed in the Constitution. It has opted for regionalization as an administrative mechanism for affecting social development in the country. And these changes, by implication, have affected and will affect even more our education policy in the country. They will affect language planning in the country. They will affect the priorities of education policy in terms of educational aims and objectives. And at this important juncture in the history of the country and also in the history of the organization, MATE, should ask, how can we, as members and board members, reorient our intervention to be responsive to this fast-changing environment. Talking about the environment also leads us to talk about the kind of stakeholders MATE has to deal with. MATE operates in partnerships with institutional partners, Moroccan institutional partners like the Ministry of Education, academies, delegations, and non-governmental organizations. And I want to spend some time talking about the emergence of some new stakeholders that did not exist 10 years ago. For example, now we have a High Council of Education, which has an increasingly important role in influencing the policy orientation of educational practice nationwide. It has a bearing on the life and practice of teachers, and there are other governmental and non-governmental organizations that have emerged and that work on education as a platform for social change, for social development, and this presents both threats and opportunities. I would like to start with the threats and then move to the opportunities. Well, there are more non-governmental organizations working on education than before, and this implies more competition for the donated dirham and also more competition for funds coming from international organizations. There are shifts in the priorities of traditional partners, and by that I mean in the areas in favor for allocating funds. And another challenge is the monopoly of voice. Now we run the risk of being of having people talking on our behalf if we don't take the lead and play a clear advocacy role in defending our cause as ELT professionals. So these are some of the threats. The opportunities are the existence of new partners with whom we can work together to achieve better results. Opportunities for networking and synergy to achieve better impact, and opportunities for new program orientations. And for example, MATE is highly qualified to work on programs that aim for large-scale behavioral change, especially with regard to civic education or human rights education, or this kind of, which areas which attract large sums of money, especially international money. I'll shift to the second point, which is governance. Traditionally, I'll try to be very brief. Governance is very important. Traditionally, MATE has been run by volunteers, and it relies tremendously on volunteers to achieve its objectives. This has a number of implications for the way the organization is run, and also for the kind of challenges it faces. I won't spend a lot of time on that because MATE is an organization in which we operate and you know it's reality. But the question we raise here at this point is: do we need to shift the way we do things in MATE? And what are the possibilities or the options available for us? In the Moroccan NGO sector, there's a shift towards project-based management, towards having paid staff working jointly with elected bodies, and this is apparently a shift that is favored by funders because it ensures sustainability and it avoids a number of events which MATE might have experienced. I'll skip some of the points and move directly to the third aspect, which is communication and outreach. I think that MATE as an organization has a lot of potential, and there is also a lot of loss of value because of a number of reasons. And one of the ways, in my view, that we can circumvent this is breakthrough thinking in terms of communication and outreach. First, we need to have a donor-oriented communication and outreach. We need to be aggressive in presenting our results. And for this, we need an evidence-based communication. MATE has achieved a lot throughout the years, but unfortunately, the amount of effort and the quality of the work MATE has achieved is not really clear to donors, and we have to spend some time thinking about how we can make this better. We also have to make MATE more visible nationally, and we have to think about strategic ways of framing our objectives and priorities and making the organization responsive to the fast-changing environment we talked about, especially that Morocco now is shifting towards more partnership with civil society, and MATE has to find its way to that, and communication and outreach is one way of achieving it. The final point I want to spend some time on is the toolbox. What kind of tools do we need to complement our already existing tools? MATE has traditionally focused on MATE days, seminars, the national conference, publication of proceedings, and exchange between teachers as major tools for its intervention. Is that enough, or do we need to incorporate more tools? Today, that MATE can play a leading role in terms of advocacy and voice and mobilization, and can speak on behalf of teachers and ELT professionals across the board, and to do so effectively needs to shift towards conducting more evaluations, sectorial evaluations in education, more impact assessments, evidence-based classroom research, to publish regularly reports and circulars, to influence education policy, and to be more active institutionally in full projects, and also it should play a leading role in stewardship of processes. And for this, we need more capacity for process facilitation, for both to implement pilot projects and also for implementing multi-stakeholder projects stewardship, which is highly needed in the field of education, given the number of partners out there working each in his or their corner, and there's a lot of need for synergy and for constructive alignment of intervention to achieve better impact. The strategic question we need to ask for this is, what other tools can we add? And this is a question left to the audience. I want to end by some suggested measures for improving potential for capacity building, leadership development, and sustainability. I think that after 3 decades, more than 3 decades of existence, MATE needs a program evaluation. MATE needs to evaluate its practice, and I would suggest a number of rubrics for this program evaluation. By program evaluation, I mean the evaluation of the organization as a whole, not just a project. I'm almost finished. So there is a need for impact assessments, impact assessment of specific activities and interventions, the identification of success stories, identification of failures or problematic areas. We also need to conduct a stakeholder analysis, and that implies a donor analysis. What are the priorities of donors, which donors we can work with, and what does that imply for our programming. We also need to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of governance, fiscal management, leadership development, and I will skip a section on SWOT analysis and analysis of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Talk mainly about a suggestion about the setting up of an institutional learning team which can assist the organization in achieving these. And I suggest some priority areas. We need a team to work on program design, to build the capacity of the members in program design, in proposal writing and fundraising strategies. We need people to work on monitoring and evaluation. We need to shift the practice of governance towards results-based management, and for that we need monitoring and evaluation as a tool. We also need knowledge management capacity. We need training and facilitation need people to work on team management, and we need more capacity building in terms of communication and outreach, and also more capacity building in terms of mainstreaming organizational culture across members, and finally, more capacity building in terms of substantive and or thematic priority areas, which Mate has been excellent at doing so far, and we can also add to that. So that's the platform I suggest for the discussion, and I'll leave the floor to he has requested to be asked. I'll leave the floor to Mr. Nida to share his ideas, and then Mr. Hassim will take the floor and we'll open the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for being here and responding to the invitation made to this seminar on better educational capacity building and leadership development. This question that arises almost 1 week after a report has been published by the UNDP on human development of Morocco, as we've fallen back to position 134, and universal education really plays a major role in classifying countries and states. And this raises the issue of how come that at a time when officially we're all proud of allocating huge sums of money to such social fields, and at the same time we're falling back to 20 points on the classification by the United Nations Development Program, which is a multi-sectoral classification. It's believed among all decision makers and all project management theoreticians that no reform could be done in the absence of leaders. And when we talk about leaders with a capital R, we really need leaders. And this makes of the topic chosen by Mates really very interesting one, because we are supposed to play this role of leaders in our fields. Sometimes we are not really aware that we are really making change. Sometimes we might underestimate the amount of efforts we are making. Sometimes we are not aware of the fact that teaching English is in Morocco or English in Morocco is among the best subjects taught in Moroccan school, in terms of achievements of Moroccan students, compared to other subjects taught, and compared to other pupils or young or children learning foreign languages in other countries. So, nevertheless, it remains that we are still faced with a long way to go very huge tasks to contribute to the development of our state from our position as teachers and as members of the educational enterprise in general. From our perspective here, as a member of a team who works here in the Centre Pédagogique Régional for teacher training, this raises an issue of something that's relatively neglected, even in teacher training programs in general, curricula in general, which is what we're talking about today, capacity building and leadership development. My colleague has just mentioned that among the most outstanding challenges we're faced with are how to cope with change, how to be responsive to change. And this is a big issue to all of us. And we need, from teacher training perspective, we could talk about at least 3 dimensions of teacher training. One dimension that has been used for a long time is the academic dimension. So I'm not using any pejorative word, but it's stuck in people's mind with information, academic information, knowledge. Future teacher has to be very highly knowledgeable in the fields of linguistics, in the fields of grammar, fields of literature, etc. And that was a major portion of the teacher training programs. Briefly, another dimension that's highly required by future teachers themselves and young teachers themselves is the technical dimension of teacher training. Providing teachers with techniques of how to do it inside their classrooms. It's providing them with real activities, with real material to be used, with real tips of how to cope with challenges inside their classrooms. The one that has been neglected and that's given that should be given great importance, and that's given great importance at our level, the level of the association, and also recently in teacher training colleges in general, is the critical dimension. As we do not need just people who know and people who can do the technical side of it. We need people who can make decisions. As a teacher, you never teach. I like the term, as I always use, we have to make a distinction between the educational task of teachers and what we might, by analogy to the Arabic or Moroccan Arabic term, takaraj. I use the term etc., which is handicraft. So our job is not purely technical. We really impact people's minds, and we have to be aware of that. And we could impact our environments at a much larger scale, which is to contribute to change. And that's what education is for. And that's what the universality of education is what for. It's for equality of opportunities, and it's for social equity, and it's for democracy. That's our major objective. And we have to keep in mind these perspectives as language teachers. That when I'm teaching the present simple or the present perfect or this or that, I have to keep in mind as a teacher that among the things I'm doing is that I'm contributing to the democratization of this society. Not by talking about democracy or anything like that, but by empowering people, by empowering children and young teenagers, and providing them with equal opportunities as much as possible from my position as a language teacher. So this dimension of this critical dimension is to provide future teachers with the ability to respond, and the ability to make decisions, and the ability to use their critical minds and to question. And this leads us to, I'm sorry, I have to make it in a couple of minutes. This leads us to our job, our tasks as members of this community, of this professional community, which is made to go beyond the idea that teachers who are here to talk about pedagogy and language teaching, and be aware of the fact that we are also members of a non-governmental organization, which is a member of something that's now being evolved, that we might talk about real civil society in Morocco, playing the role of real civil society, questioning, controlling, etc., and contributing to the real democratization of the state, and contributing to, 5 minutes and something. Finish your argument. So as members of this professional community, we are to be aware of our task, and this requires of us equipment not just at the academic level, not just at the level of technical level, but, and this is more important, which is highly ignored in many training programs, not only in the field of teaching, but the level of values. And we've noticed that people come with or graduate in the same universities and schools in the United States of America, in France, in Germany, etc. But once they are here after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, they very simply do not respect the time. Or they very simply are less and less motivated or devoted to their jobs. Or sometimes we had the latest conference here in Marrakech about fraud in hard work, and no one can teach you about the degree that corruption has been widespread and has become kind of part and parcel of our everyday lives. And this requires another level, is we have to target not just academic levels, not just the academic or the technical levels, but also primarily the level of values and the initiative taking, and also to be member of the community is to be aware of the role and of the function and of the vision that has been set up at the beginning of the foundation of MAIT, which was founded 8 years ago with the particular aims in mind, and we are absolutely doing a great job in comparison to plenty of other institutions in our environment, but the task is still to be done of providing the community with more and better equipped human resources and technology.
Thank you, Mr. for the presentation. And now I will go to Mr. Hassim.
Thank you, Chairman. I tried to base my intervention on some experience that we had in days, and I tried my best to be complementary to what my colleagues here have talked about. What I'm going to talk is not based on any survey or any research or whatever, but it's based only on experience with reality, organizing 8 days of events and so on. There are certain facts that we can start from. First thing is that MAIT is a non-governmental association, and it's doing civil service, and to some extent it's different in the way it manages itself from the official bodies like the ministry and the delegation and so on. So we try to work differently to complement or to fill in the gaps that we live in our community. Second thing is that the teachers community is valued, is developing, is challenging. There is a new generation joining the job and the profession, especially with middle school teachers and so on. And a lot of the people who were trained and educated in the 70s and 80s, and some of us are still here, and I consider myself among them.
50s.
We have a certain background which is quite different from the newcomers. Also, the pyramid is shifting towards many young teachers at the bottom. So there are different interests, there are different strategies, there are different ways of dealing with problems and reality. Another fact is that there is a very limited in-service training. There we have a wide population of teachers, but very limited in-service training. And more than that, it's not systematic, it's not based on needs and wants. Another thing is that the population of teachers in Morocco has become very pragmatic. But whenever you try to bring something to them, they ask you, what is it for me in that, for the classroom? Yeah, what can I do in the classroom? Whenever you address them, you have to give something practical or shut. This is the reality. And the challenge at the same time. Another thing in MAID with summer program, I've been working in MAID for more than a decade as an active member. We cannot respond to the needs and wants with the way we are working now. The active members are very limited, our ambitions are very big, and there is no much between the two. So there should be something to deal with the challenge. Another thing is that at certain level in MAID, we are working in a traditional way. We still work with MAID days, conferences, seminars. This is really very limited way of dealing with the reality. There are other ways. There are long-term, medium-term projects that are productive kinds of work and so on. Because not only one-shot event and then people go. There is no follow-up. There is no production left, and so on. Another challenge is that we see the same faces most of the time in MAID events, and we are familiar with each other. And the coming newcomers are very limited. We don't give as much as we wish to the wide needs and the tasks that we have to do to manage the association and to respond to the needs. And the association has become very ambitious. We have many events, we have many different kinds of productions, but still we need more leaders, more active members to fill in the gaps that are left. These are some of the challenges that we really face as an association. As I said, here are some of the suggestions that we have here. As I said, as MAID, as an association, as a non-governmental association, we have to opt for a bottom-up way of dealing with reality. We should not always rely on the traditional way where we sit down and start to draft action plans and then start to apply them for people without any assistance, without any surveys, without any research on reality to provide right in time, sustainable service. So there should be a needs analysis and research on reality to provide some systematic kind of service. Also, we need to involve members into the work of the association. It's true that teachers are pragmatic and they ask for practical solutions, but at the same time, they are receptive. They are not active. They don't contribute. This is also another negative element that we have in reality. There should be a way how we can transform our population to become active members and to become productive rather than receptive. There are ways, of course, but we have to try them in reality. Concerning the traditional way we are dealing with things, we have to move from providing services to managing services. Teachers should help in the provision of services through creating learning communities. And this is something that has been tried, at least in some parts of Morocco, in South Sudan, for example, we tried creating teacher learning communities where the teachers sit down and decide on their needs and decide on how they are going to organize themselves in order to come up with the production they themselves desire to or aspire to come to. It has been tried also in other contexts, like in Britain and the United States, and it has proven to be very effective. We have been talking a lot about action research and project-based work, but the reality is that we agree that action research can solve some problems, but in reality, no action research takes place. So there should be some supervised action research. It should not be left to the teachers like that. There should be some kind of contract with certain people, or maybe of higher order, like supervisors, or higher order at the level of competence and knowledge, like the university teachers or people of knowledge among the teachers themselves. Because in the population we have different capabilities, different competencies. Some of the teachers are more knowledgeable in an area, but not in another area. So we can seek help from each other. We have to move from one-shot events to long-term, middle-term projects, which lead to certain production that can be transferred. An event cannot be transferred. Though we make proceedings, we make CD-ROMs and so on, but this is not something human that can be transferred as face-to-face experiences. And another thing which is taking place and we have to be aware of, we tried at a certain time as men to involve, to use ICT in conferencing and so on. But we didn't continue on that, at that level. We don't have online conferences, we don't have online services, we don't have the ICT tools in providing services. But what happens is that much learning is taking place online in an informal way. And this is an area that men can do a lot in order to overcome certain obstacles, or physical obstacles, material obstacles, and so on, to provide 24 hours a day service. It's always there. I just take the experience of Facebook, and I personally learn a lot from what I see on Facebook. It's huge knowledge. And it's an in-time service, right in-time service. Whenever you need something, you ask for it, and you get it from the moment. At the moment, most of the time, you get multiple answers, multiple responses from different places in Morocco or out of Morocco. So I don't want to take more than the time given to me, but some questions are left. How can men change the attitudes of its members, to transfer them from receptive members into productive members? Second question is, how can we build up a bottom-up teacher development and leadership development? Another question is, how can we adapt to the changes and challenges that we have in reality? I hope this is the last question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now we open the discussion, and I'll be taking discussion is open, and those who want to raise questions, to comment on ideas, share ideas, provide suggestions, are welcome to put their hands. We don't have any female. The last one. So we're talking about equality and opportunity. And Mr. Sukri, the floor is yours.
I'd like to make a connection from Mr. Hassim's and Mr. Abdellatif's contributions. It's true we've invested a lot of money in, particularly in the emergency plan as far as training is concerned. 21, I think, projects in the emergency plan are launched, and still we're losing around a year. Same thing for capacity. We invested a lot of energy in mid-days, presentations, action research, a lot of talk. But I think we're dealing with, when we talk about capacity building, we're dealing with people, dealing with human resources. I think the crucial factor in our education system is the human resources. We have reluctance on the part of all the departments, and as far as practice is concerned. As far as theory is concerned, the pedagogy of integration implemented in the primary school and middle school, in theory, it's okay. In practice, when you check with children, with teachers, it's a kind of ironical situation. We believe in one thing, and we practice another thing in the classroom. Same thing for the capacity building. We should talk more about development, more than the building, because the skills, the knowledge already exist in teachers, as you said, technically speaking, academically speaking, but what lacks? The principles. Now, once we don't believe in capacity building, don't believe in action research, nothing happens. So I think we need to question not only the teaching community, teachers of English, but it's the whole environment is involved. In the same school, you have training going on, and you meet people that are interested in the discussions, but in practice they don't do anything. Same thing for action research. I think how can we make people believe in what they are doing is, I think, a question. As far as theory, as far as practices, meditate, presentations, I think as Mr. Hassim said, we feel fed up with these things. We need something to shift, as you said, somewhere else in order to make people work and believe in what they're doing.
Any suggestions you have?
I just add my question.
Okay, I'd like to thank Mohammed for your thought-provoking and insightful presentation. I'd like also to extend my thanks to May for bringing us together with professionals from different regions of Morocco. We have talked hundreds of miles from here to. As I was driving here, I talked to my friends that this is a good opportunity, at least, to be able to speak English outside of the class. I always tend to politicize discussion when it comes to talking about civil society groups, maybe because I am a civil society activist, but this time we will refrain from doing so. And I will say that NATE is worthy of our respect. It is an enviable association. An association that is doing great work. It is gaining renown domestically and abroad as well. And it has consolidated its profile as a major stakeholder when it comes to ELT business. But still, I believe that NATE has to meditate, so to speak, in order to make its work worthy of attention. Mate is exerting too much work. Still, the position of the English language in Morocco is relegated to a lower position than it should actually be having. French is taking the lead, which should not be the case. Everybody is saying that any development, any kind of progress is linked, whether you like it or not, to English teaching. And we know the historical and ideological factors that make French taking the position it has now. But still, I believe that it is it's mate's business to be meditating in order to give English language the position it deserves. That's it, briefly.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for sharing with us your concerns about mate's probably future, which will start to be today. I agree with all that what you said, and mainly what the three panelists said was mostly negative things about mate, and you mentioned on the run some positive things, but you were really concentrating on how to improve our association. I'd like to tell you two anecdotes that happened to me. I've been teaching for probably 2 years, and I only joined mate 2 years ago. And I was an advocate of how do you say it? I'm an advocate of civil society and voluntary work. But why did I join like 2 years ago? I don't know. Is that a problem with me or a problem with the association?
Joined national board. You joined national board, but you were a member.
Yeah, you're right to the national board. And second, last year I was traveling to Nîmes to attend the conference, the middle school conference, for the first time. From Tetuan, I woke up at 4 o'clock to be there. But on the way at 7 o'clock, I turned on the radio, the national channel, the Idawa, yeah. I was listening to the news and I heard an association of birds in Afura is organizing its third national conference. It's a local association, so alright, so the middle school seminar is next. Then another association in Shell, Women's Association, that's honey is doing this and that. A series of announcements, and I'm traveling 600 kilometers to Nîmes, and I haven't heard about this important meeting of me. So that struck me, and I can't take it out of my mind. So, Mr. Seddiq, I like your analysis. You touched so many points, and they really should be taken care of immediately, I think soon. And maybe you did not name what we need to do, but probably you didn't want to provoke us. But I think what you're aiming at is an external audit. Isn't that true?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Well, personally, I think that MATE as an organization is excellent in so many respects. And I'm not being complacent or throwing flowers, but I've worked with a number of organizations, both in Morocco and internationally, and I can assure you that the work MATE is doing is highly commendable. But as any organization, there is room for more, for improving the intervention, and it's a fact that MATE has been operating with a specific setup that has traditional, that has historical reasons, and some of the challenges have been tackled by Hassim, and probably all of us know these challenges. In the life cycle of each organization, there should be a time when its members take a serious look at the way business is conducted and done, and decide on what orientation we want to take so that we can achieve better results, we can have better prospects in the future, and so that we can ensure that the new generations joining the organization will ensure its sustainability and not drive it to have a chaos. And that's exactly the context in which my intervention is situated. But just to come to your comments about focusing on negative issues, I think that we're pinpointing areas for improvement rather than focusing on negative issues, and that's the way I see it.
Well, I was really hoping that you would aim in at an external audit. So,
I think personally, I believe that MATE has all what it takes to conduct an internal program evaluation. I know some of the MATE members, and they're highly qualified, and they can conduct an internal, cheap, not costly program evaluation, and all the rules I've suggested can be conducted with internal capacity, and this is something MATE has to be very proud of. I can assure you. Maybe the next speaker is Mr. David. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. So, Hassim has said that many needs more active members to join in. Don't you think that it is not too late to organize MATE days and study days in different areas of Morocco? I can remember, certainly about the last time MATE They was organized in the region where I teach. It goes back to 2001. So they had to see Roman something, visited us there and organized MATE Day. Especially for the newly promoted teachers, middle school teachers in particular, also some high school teachers, they don't know the Association of Teachers of English. This is my first question. My second question is related to the Facebook plays in launch. I thank you very much for that because it's very interesting for us as teachers. But don't you think that it's high time we share the script of these plays, because we need to show our students the extent to which other access students in different parts of Morocco work, and to try to better improve the quality of drama in our access centers or our schools.
Thank you. Mr. Zuita?
Okay, thank you so much for this. The opportunity. What does that have to analysis and as you mentioned, a lot of projects. Among them is one of the online courses, which have a lot of talking about localities and for the public. I'm wondering where this project is going to be launched this year or coming years. So it is online courses. Online courses. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your analysis of the university. And I agree with all of you, especially when talking about the student nation being more critical about the situation. And also I agree with Mr. Hassim when he say that we need more surveys, more analysis of this situation. Because in my area, some teachers keep asking me, is there any body that can help us in our training, our teaching, our practices and so on? So if there's names, not just give them the site address, but it's not enough. It is something else. There may be better ways to see the whole situation. Maybe clever strategies to do well, to reach for others. Maybe because, for example, here, especially in the Sadara, we have types of novice teachers. Those who graduated from university and have undergone 1 year of training on pedagogy. And those have got no background, in their background, they've got no training in pedagogy. So we have two types of teachers. What should be done? Thank you.
Thank you.
I was born with maids in 1982. I was born with maids. No, I saw the birth of maids in 79, 80, and I was still training at the CPR. Some people were not born yet, but it was fantastic to see this association, I think, and I've been there all this time, I've been with this association for the last 30 years, and I've seen it go up and down, and then steady. What I have noticed the last few years that there was this access program and summer camps. Who for kids, for students. What is being done for teachers? Maybe it's for teachers. Okay, good. There's no problem. What about teachers? What about supervisors? Okay, teachers, we have a maid conference, we have maid days. But then, what happens after that? We get together at the conference, we have breakfast together, we go to the workshops, we go to the lectures, we go to lunch, and we split, and everybody goes. What happens? Discussions, thank you. But what happens after that? What happens? And you mentioned also, said we have this action research, but what happens after action research? I think that I have one piece of criticism to make the teachers, because some teachers don't like when we do something related to, few things related to teachers, they don't like to come and sit with you. I think you agree with me, as supervisors in Rabat and Saleh, they don't want to come. We prepare nice things. They don't want to come on Friday afternoon. They have had their couscous, they want to sleep. They don't want to come, and that's really painful, because we always get together, we prepare things, we prepare, maybe only our own. But anyway, I think it's contagious, so don't worry, it will be coming down. Anyway, I would like to make a few suggestions. I have been working with the British Council for the last 24 years, and one of the things I do with them is teacher training. As a supervisor in teacher training, I do a lot of teacher training. And maybe you don't know this, but these people are spending loads of money in Algeria and Tunisia, giving training, teacher training to teachers in those two countries. Why not Morocco? Why not Seddiq? Why not with me? Why not? Why don't we do this in Morocco? Do some teacher training things together. And there are plenty, I know that there are hundreds of people who would love to do this. And I'm sure that if we grab Nick, Cherkas, his color, he will do something. There is something to do. They can have it. They can have it. An online training, teacher training program. And we also do this teacher training in a lot of cities. We can do that. They have the money to do it. Don't tell them I told you. They have the money to do it. They can have, they give everything. They provide everything. And with the mate, with the ministry, we can have, within the conference, we can have something like this happening. And getting teachers to do a lot of teacher training. We need that. Our teachers need it, whether in the south, in the north, in Rabat and Saleh, but we need to get people to, recycle, to get new ideas. Recycling is very important. And I think what we should do is really encourage mates to get together with the British Council, really push on that, because they're doing it in Algeria, they're doing it in Tunisia, and I've seen it. And they might be starting in Libya when things settle down. Why not Morocco? Let's grab it. I think we should, try to push Nick Cherkas to us for that. That's the
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Hassim for the effort he's invested in Facebook, making it bright online learning atmosphere, because I personally enjoy it and learn a lot from it. And escaping the traditional way of dealing with reality and enriching made toolbox, I want to know to what extent can made promote or enhance sister cities or twinning between Morocco and abroad. For example, how can maids give us a hand with teachers to link our schools locally and internationally through foreign cultural exchanges? And how can we develop financial our needs. And thank you very much.
I think I've already used up my time and I've used my authority as the chairperson. So I leave it for my colleagues to comment on questions and suggestions of I think we're done with the first discussion. So Hassim,
okay, I try just to focus on 2 points here, and I like your interventions, and they are pertinent and they go in line with what we are talking about. The problem is with faith is that if we don't improve ourselves, we are going just to grow old. We have 30 years behind us, or 32 years, but if we continue the same way, it's like the person is growing old. We have to regenerate ourselves and the work. You talked about winning and eat winning, and why do teachers don't come to 8 days? You don't find anything interesting in that. We think that we are branding to them something interesting, but this is not what they want. We have to ask them what they want. And it's not necessary to brand them to the schools. It's something outdated to brand them to make them. You can invite them at home if you want to. Yeah, we're talking about Facebook, and they see the efficiency of the work that is being done there. And we always have things that are closely related to the needs of the teachers. And I see, so they say that we need human resources development. And through Facebook and online technology and so on, we feel that the feedback is immediate. When you send something and you receive a like on the spot, it is really encouraging, it's really magical. And then it grows and people throw it to another page, and you find what you have put here is somewhere else in another group, and you can reach in a glimpse of you can reach hundreds and thousands of people. We have not to rely on very traditional ways of organizing make days where we spend a lot of money. If you are not going to work on capacity building and development, it's better not to America. Don't thank people and talk to them about action research. Thank people to do action research. And if people find something useful in late days, it will come. You talked about e-twinning, for example, and what twinning in physical. If teachers find something like that in the meetings they come to, they will always come. You have talked about access and British Council programs, and I've been involved with some colleagues in access and in connected classroom. Connected classroom is a British Council product, and access is an American product, and we have our own products, of course. I don't want to talk about Med's products because we know that these things motivate teachers and want them to come. People ask about connected classroom. People ask about access in very remote areas because they find something interesting there. Access is not only for students, by the way, it's for teachers because they learn many things. They learn new ways of teaching English, not included in the textbook, not included in the Moroccan official syllabus. And these are the things I'm talking about. We have to work on long-term, mid-term projects that lead to production. And not just coming and university. Even with the British Council product, of course. We can do better than what we do. I have had the experience of connecting classrooms. We can do better than I'm sure. I think our time is
short. My point is as simple as this, that we in MATE, we are not a subsidiary of anybody, as we are not supposed to do subcontracting anymore. We are here today. We know when to operate and when to collaborate and when to have partners and so on and so forth. But the basic principle of MATE and basic reason for its existence and for its sustainability is its independence and its ability to remain independent. And this is why I try to get. I know that we are doing a lot as mates. We are contributing a lot to the training of teachers, and much more than any other professional association in Morocco. As it's winter, we have to measure this relatively. And the status of English in comparison to all other subjects is highly advanced. As if we, even to French, after studying French for more than 10 years, when compared to the level of English, people's levels of English is very much more advanced than the levels of French. English is my point is very simply that we have also to rethink or to go back on founding principles of MATE, that we could play a higher role than simply training, because training per se is the job of the ministry. And we could be here as teachers, as teacher trainers, as supervisors, as members of the education enterprise who are highly concerned with this, but as mates we could question, we could criticize, we could take positions, and for example, with respect to what we might, any self-criticism that we could do, is we didn't question, for example, the emergency plan, the ministry. We questioned, well, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Laklida. I would like to leave you with a task so as to perpetuate this reflection on how to better build capacity in MATE. I would like each one of you to think of one or two suggestions which he or she views as priority areas for improvement, and suggest some measures for improvement in those areas. And I'll discuss with Mr. Mortin the appropriate time and way of collecting these suggestions and ideas, and try to use them as a platform either during our discussions.
The homework for tonight?
Well, it's
tonight's homework.
It's for thought. It's for thought.
Hand them in tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. And